George R.R. Martin is weighing in on the culture war, specifically book bans and public school libraries. He shared a quote from Noam Chomsky that reads, Goebbels was in favor of free speech for views he liked, so is Stalin. If you're really in favor of free speech, then you're in favor of freedom of speech for precisely the views you despise. Otherwise, you're not in favor of free speech. He then commented on this quote saying, words for all times, but especially these times we are living in when free speech is under attack as seldom before. Book banning has become pandemic, and now some are even threatening arrest for teachers and librarians who give students the wrong books to read. You want to know what kind of wrong books these teachers and librarians are giving students? Well, here's an article from the local Fox 5 Washington, D.C. affiliate here in Virginia, Washington, D.C. area where I am located. This is just from March 24, 2022. Virginia bill would give parents the power to ban sexually explicit content in child's education. And that is indeed what they are doing. I mean, you go through this here, you find out that there are a bunch of books that these people are trying to give to students that are specifically trying to teach them sexually explicit material through books. So the idea that they're book banning, they're banning pornographic materials. That is something that you would think most people would be for, especially when it is concerning children. Now, this idea of freedom of speech, people think I feel people have kind of warped this idea of what it means, that you can just say whatever you want and there are kind of no consequences for it, or people can't be saying like, hey man, what you're saying is wrong, or that's absolutely immoral, you shouldn't be saying that. Well, in fact here, you actually can do that. So this is an article written in 2013 on Aletia, titled, What Do Catholics Believe About Free Speech? As a Catholic, I think this is something I would like to share. And I think he does a pretty good job here. Daniel McEnany does a pretty good job of kind of explaining it. And he says, this freedom of speech being essential to human dignity is recognized by the church as a fundamental human right. However, this does not mean that it's morally acceptable to cling to error or speak sinful words that harm others. The right of free speech protects us from interference from others as we pursue truth. It does not imply moral approval of all speech. And I think that is what is really significant here. So I think there is a huge case and for people to be banning sexually explicit material in favor of children. And I think obviously just in general, right? I don't think people should be exposing themselves to that because it is immoral, illicit in nature. So I think George R.R. Martin here is clearly weighing in on the wrong side of things. He's trying to present himself as this champion of free speech when what he's really doing is he's hiding a champion of immorality behind this idea of free speech. And I think that's really a big issue that is plaguing our society now. We have this huge immoral ideas being hidden behind this idea of free speech, and they kind of use this shield of free speech as kind of like a catch-all to be like, hey, you're attacking free speech, so you're immediately wrong because free speech is our God or our first commandment, right? Instead of worshiping God being the first commandment, and worshiping God meaning listening to all of the rules and laws that He has made for us, which includes not looking at pornographic, illicit material. So let me know what you think here. What do you think of George R.R. Martin's comments, and what do you think of what I've been saying here about free speech being used as a shield to basically promote all kinds of illicit and immoral behavior, which is indeed what I think George R.R. Martin is doing right here.
Subscribe for more.